Good morning, everyone. Happy December 29th. Yeah, Annie, take it away.
All right. Online, we have Amanda Hanthorn, Andrew Chorney, Carolyn Bean, Casey Gannon, Chris Lounsbury, Jason Emery, Juniper Davis, Melissa Fisher, Violet Plummer. We have Lady Wagner, MCAT, and we have somebody listed just as guest. Could I get your name for roll call? Okay. In 206, we have Commissioner Vero and Strohmeyer, myself, Annie Cathy, Vinnie Pavlish, Allison France, and Carrie Powers. I'll let you take it away.
Thanks. Is that okay? So is GK guest the what per
That is who I
do
asked
they know how to unmute?
to unmute is *6. Whoever the guest is.
Hello, yes, this is Greg Keeney from OpenGov, member of the public attending. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm sorry, that was
Great to be with you guys today.
thanks, Greg. I'm sorry, OpenGov. It's the software.
The software.
Okay, great. Thanks, Greg. Sorry.
Yeah, no, great to be here. Sorry, I think I was having trouble with my microphone there.
No worries. Okay, well, consent agenda. 5 items. Does any need to be pulled out? Being that Greg's is the first one, but
Well, first off, I would like to acknowledge this is the last meeting of the year for our chair, Juanita Vera. So
you're right.
thank you, Juanita, for serving in this prestigious role for the past year.
Thank you. It'll be Slotnick in January,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
But I get to swear you in tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
My
Yes.
last
Yeah.
Your last
official
duty.
duty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we'll have the swearing in ceremony for all the elected officials.
Okay.
There was a rumor circulating at the front desk this morning that I was not going to be sworn in, and I tried to put that to rest.
Well, that's good.
Our communications folks should be aware of
Yeah.
that.
I'm on it.
Okay.
My only question about the consent agenda was who at Public Works must have plugged up the toilet to cause $10,000 in water damage out there? No need to answer.
Yeah. It's been since June. Is that, I didn't realize that it had taken so long.
And Andrew, do you have something to add?
Sorry, Andrew.
Excuse me, those were 11th hour. The contract with NASBO, is it 6 years non-exclusive without any outs on it? Is it a 6-year contract, lock, stock and barrel, or is it annually renewed?
Would Greg or Chris have?
Casey
Or
Gannon.
Casey,
is on.
sorry, yeah.
Casey, if you'd prefer to take it, I'm happy to take it too. Whatever's easier for you.
Yeah, go for it, Greg. It's coming from your side, so you probably know it pretty well.
Sure. Well, I think I just turned on my camera. Great to meet everybody face to face, and really hoping to have the opportunity to work with you all. I may have mentioned this before, but my dad grew up in Lewistown, and so always like to have the opportunity to work with Montana jurisdictions. But in terms of the contract details, the way it's structured is for one payment right away for a 10-month period, and then a 5-year upfront payment, which would occur at the end of October in 2023. So you would be paying in advance for software for 5 years. And as a result of making that in advance payment, we were able to deliver a pretty significant discount. So to answer your question, Andrew, I mean, certainly if you wanted to stop using the software At some point during those 5 years, you could, but the advantage of paying upfront was the cost savings.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm having a problem with a big dollar number up front right now. We have a cash crunch right now at the county, and I'm just a little hesitant putting that kind of cash out right now. I know this 11th hour been diverted on other subjects right now. Is it
When does the contract start?
Yeah, can we just pull this out and talk about, or if we pump it another week or
We
two,
could
would that be
postpone it if we
useful?
needed to another meeting.
I mean,
Yeah.
we'd be happy to discuss that. I mean, I think, frankly, we worked pretty hard with your team to make sure that we were able to get fairly significant discounts approved by my CFO, which was conditional on being able to move forward with this in the month of December. If we did pull this out, I think we would a little bit be back to the drawing board on figuring out the business structure. So I think, just something to think through, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we need, I can't, we need to pull it. I need to take another look at it. It's, we're hitting a cash crunch right now, and I just, $700,000+ up front just is a lot of money.
Sure. So, and I think just to be clear, with the structure that we have now, there's no requirement for that contribution to happen today. Right now, the only thing that would be due would be the 10-month payment.
150 or what was the amount for 10 months?
It's about 150. That's for the 10 months of software and the deployment of the actual software. And the goal would be able to have this product up and running within just a couple of months by April. So you would be able to use this for the entirety of your budget planning cycle for the next fiscal year. And then the way that we structured it with Amanda and Casey in order to provide a discount was for a 5-year upfront payment. This was something that was specifically requested and not something that we suggested to you. That said, if you would prefer us to switch to something which I think would be a little bit more typical, which would be paying for the software every year. We could certainly do that and could make adjustments to this. And for example, that can include, a 10-month payment now, and then moving into annual payments on October 31st, 2023. So that's certainly an option too. But this specific business model, we structured directly at the request of the team we were working with.
Greg,
Well,
as it's structured
alternatively-
now, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just so I am clear, and then Casey jump in. So what we would be talking right now would be 10 months for $150,000 and the balance of the 5-year contract coming due in a lump sum in the new fiscal year. Did you say October?
Yes, that's correct. And I think, to be clear, technically with the NASPO agreement, there is an out clause. So I suppose it's so definitely. So at some point, if for some reason prior to next October, you decided that you did not want to work with OpenGov, you would be able to get out of the agreement.
So the question, and sorry to keep cutting you off, Casey, but the question would be, does $150,000 right now, is that an insurmountable cash flow issue, Andrew, or is it the bigger number later in FY24?
That's correct. It's a larger number.
Yeah, you were getting at the same thing I was thinking. Currently, we have an 8-month kind of upfront cost. So roughly about 100,000 is the annual kind of subscription for OpenGov, and then about 50-60,000 is kind of the startup cost to kind of transition all of our accounting stuff into the budget software. So after that 8 months, yeah, if we still have the cash problem, we could potentially renegotiate, opt out, and renegotiate a yearly payment, I would think, Greg, if it comes to that. But
yes, if it did come to that, we could certainly discuss that.
But by signing the
I think
contract,
certainly the goal here is to be,
Locked in, yeah.
long-term partners, and to really be an extension of your team. And that is really how we try to operate. Much different than I think what is typical government vendor relationship. I mean, we really do want to be on the same side of our nation's governments and really help you achieve your goals.
Great, thanks.
by signing today's contract, though, we would be locking into this 6-year contract, right?
Well, so the contract it already exists, right? This is the pre-competed contract vehicle on NASPO. We have provided you with 2 different invoices. One of them, which is due today, which was for the 10 months of software and the deployment, and then there's a separate invoice which we delivered, which is dated 10/31/2023. And so, I guess
For
if
5 years, right?
yeah, correct.
So if we wanted to go year to year, we wouldn't want to sign this contract today then, right?
So the only thing that is being signed is actually the OpenGov standard software terms and conditions. This is non-binding. Because this is through a pre-competed contract vehicle through the state of Montana, there's actually not a contract that's signed. You execute a purchase order against a purchase order or issue payment against a quote and an invoice. So, I suppose in theory you could refuse to pay the invoice next year and renegotiate with us because the contract is something that is actually already in place.
Vinny, can you step in on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so both Brian and I looked at this. The NASPO contracts there's not much wiggle room about how the contract looks, because it's not just state by state, though it has been approved by the Montana State Procurement Officer. It's negotiated by many states together with an outfit like OpenGov. I think that what Greg was saying is correct, that there's some saving clauses in there, and that there's probably some opportunity to renegotiate. But what we would be leaving on the table is the leverage to get the discounted rate, basically. And I'm not sure they would have much incentive in a renegotiation position to give us the same kind of discount or think through it from that perspective. Greg, if we were to take another look at this, the trouble is it just happens to be the 29th of December. How much do you think it would change it from your business's perspective if we had it early on an agenda in January so that we could clear up these concerns in a way that is less like at a public meeting?
Yeah. Frankly, fairly significantly. My team and I moved mountains to negotiate with our CFO to deliver quite significant discounts to you, not only for the 10-month payment right now, but also for the upfront for 5 years payment on 10/31. That said, there is a termination for convenience clause on the NASPO agreement, and so if you did decide to move forward today and you did want to, not move forward come October with an upfront payment, and we wanted to, move to more of an annual rate, that is certainly something that we could talk about with you, and I can, certainly give you my truthful answer that we would. So, I think if at all possible, it would be our preference, of course, to move forward today. Our respective teams have done a tremendous amount of work to get us to this point. And I think it's rather important for us to get moving on this deployment in order for you to be able to take advantage of using the software during the entirety of next year's budget process.
So one other thought, and based on that, it sounds like in order to keep the current negotiated arrangement intact, action would need to be taken today. But what about pushing it out till January 3rd? I mean, does it absolutely have to happen today? In a perfect world, I would love to be able to make sure that our entire team is fully on board with this, which there appears to be some misalignment here today. Maybe Jason Emery has some words of wisdom. But in this event, we'd only be talking basically four days from now.
All I can say, I mean, this is clearly not my package, although I am on board with getting this platform because I think it'll move us significantly further down the budgeting road, which has been, I'll just say, challenging for the last few years from a budget manager standpoint. I think with regards to just my experience with negotiating software contracts, which I've done hundreds and hundreds of them, I think there has been a very good, a lot of good faith put forward on both sides to get to this point, and it is fairly common to negotiate these sort of deals where you're committing to, you know, longer term use of a package. And what that does for OpenGov in this instance, I believe, is, you know, you have to take into account fiscal years. You know, it's very common this time of year for vendors to negotiate better rates. Matter of fact, I've done a few other smaller things recently, and you know that plays into their financials. So even an extra 4 days completely changes the conversation. You know, going into it with the idea that we can get you there, you know, and show the financial results by getting this done and, you know, issuing a PO, so to speak, this year, I think kind of throws that whole thing out of whack. So I'm not trying to speak, you know, for OpenGov, but that's just my experiences. You know, these things are very predicated upon hitting certain time milestones. I would say the risk is relatively low that we're not going to use the software. They did discount the product quite a bit. And, you know, just because of the NASPO vehicle, you know, if things do go sideways and we really don't like it, you know, we're not stuck for 5 years. So I think from a risk standpoint, it's not terrible. I don't think we'll be in that spot. I think there's been a lot of really strong due diligence done on this product and comparing it to other platforms. So I think it's either, you know, we stop it here and then go back to the drawing board, likely to pay more money than what we thought, or, you know, we just make it happen now. I think the 3-day delay is actually bigger than what you think.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks, Jason.
You bet.
Thank you, Jason. And I would, I guess to answer your question directly, you know, in relation to if 4 days or 5 days would make a difference, it would definitely make a difference to our CFO. And I guess I'll just add as kind of a personal aside, I'm one of the longest serving employees at this company. I've been working at the company for 8 years now, and you know, it really is our goal to power more effective and accountable government and build easy to use modern software tools specifically for your use cases. And in the entire time that I've gotten here, I mean, we just don't run into, you know, major problems, you know, with our customers. It's just not how we do business. And you know, I definitely want to double down on, you know, I think that the good faith work that has been done, and, you know, if for some reason there are any problems during the deployment, which we don't anticipate, you know, or if there were, you know, major appropriation challenges for Missoula County, I think that's something that we could certainly address in the future, and we would make a good effort to make sure that we did it from a position of partnership.
Thanks, Greg. Or Andrew?
Yeah, I guess I don't have any questions. I mean, I love the software. It's going to work very well for us. I think it's going to do a great job. I have no qualms about making a mistake in choosing the software. My qualms are with cash flow, and that's the only thing I'm concerned about right now. And it may not be an issue in the future, but we're right on the edge. So
Andrew, if I'm hearing you correctly, and jump in, Chris Lonsberry, if you're out there too. Andrew, if I'm hearing you correctly, the $150,000 is not an issue. We just need to, in next fiscal year's budget, make sure that we build in enough to cover the balance of the contract, which we'll just do it.
okay.
Chris?
Yeah, so commissioners, what might be helpful, first of all, it's probably to pull this item off the consent agenda just from a process standpoint, right? Because the rest of the consent agenda items, I don't think have any issue around them, although I'm not seeing anybody else who has a consent agenda item on there other than Lighty, who's actually on the call. So probably the first step is to pull that particular item off the consent agenda. And then what might be helpful is to consider changing the requested motion. So instead of request board approved purchase agreement, if we want to change that to request, like we could give you could in essence grant the authority. Andrew and I can huddle up with Casey and Amanda after this call and reach out to Grant if necessary. And then whoever you authorize, assuming that we're there, could sign it so that we're still inside the time frame that Jason and Grant are pointing out, which is the current calendar year, if I heard Grant correctly.
Greg, I'm sorry, I've been calling you Greg.
Yeah, my name's Greg, but that's okay.
Oh,
I realize.
okay.
Sorry,
I realize.
I'm sorry, I got it wrong.
Okay,
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
No
Otherwise
problem.
known as GK.
Yeah, okay.
We go with GK, whatever works. Grant has a nice ring to it anyway. But yes, that's right. We would be working within the confines of the current calendar year.
Okay, Strohmeyer, you wanna,
So first off, I guess I would pull this off the consent agenda and move that we approve everything
2 through 5?
to items 2 through 8.
8, gotcha, okay. Second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm fine with doing what you just said, Chris, and getting this done within the calendar year, so.
So it's just granting authority to Lounsbury and Chorney to work with Greg to,
Well, we'll get with Casey and Amanda after this, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll reach out to Greg, who I'm going to stop calling Grant.
Well,
Okay.
we'd be pleased to iron out some of these details with you all and appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
So just so I'm clear, Chris, right now the motion is to approve the purchase of the software through the state's purchasing agreement. What's your addendum to that?
So I would make the recommended motion, assuming Vinny were in support of it, to authorize the chief administrative officer or chief financial officer to approve and sign the purchase agreement with OpenGov. And then we can have that conversation.
Prior
And then
to
one of us can,
the end of the calendar year.
correct.
That sounds right to me, Chris.
Okay, I move that.
second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thanks, GK.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for this.
Yeah.
We'll get it
So
done.
Amanda, Casey, and Andrew, I'll call you guys into a Teams meeting when we're done here. We can work through that really quick, and then Greg, we will get right back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Terrific.
Great, thanks.
Look forward to speaking with you and wish everyone a happy new year.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. Okay, Juniper. With a memorandum or MOA with the county and city and Clark Fork Coalition and
Yeah.
WP.
Yeah. So we have 4 parties that are entering into this memorandum of agreement. And actually we have the signatures on all the other 3 parties, and Missoula County is the final. So what I'm here today is to see if the board will consider approving this MOA. The MOA is set out for the purpose of exploring the feasibility of undertaking collaborative recreation and conservation efforts, including a potential planning effort. And all of this is proposed to be done under the River of the Three Rivers Collaborative. So all 4 of those partners that I just mentioned, they are core and key and active members of the Three Rivers Collaborative, which is a standing group of community members working together to address issues and pursue opportunities related to local rivers. We've all been working together here for a number of years, along with others that are also at the table. So in this memorandum of agreement, it includes a draft planning fact sheet, which is attached as an exhibit to the MOA. And the fact sheet describes the needs and the goals for this river recreation and conservation planning effort. And this document, this fact sheet, was created by the Three Rivers Collaborative. Some members were ready to move forward with the planning effort, and some felt like we had some more work to do. And as we kind of wrestled with that, we realized, yes, indeed, we do have some work to do before we can embark upon a planning effort. There were basically these key questions that still needed to be answered before everybody could agree to jump on board. So as a result, this MOA, instead of, implementing a planning effort, it is an agreement to come together over the next year to discuss what a planning effort might be like, and then to have these key kind of unanswered questions answered. So some of those questions that we're looking at addressing this year is, like what would be the scope? What would be the scale? What would be our funding strategy for a planning effort? And what roles would need to be assigned throughout the collaborative group in order to get this thing done? So the MOA, its length is really just a year, and it's for us to work collaboratively to address these issues. And then hopefully at the end of the year, what we would have is a set of recommendations that we could bring to leadership and elected officials that would help them understand and weigh and then decide whether we should pursue additional collaborative recreation and conservation efforts, including a planning effort. So it's all very good, very positive. The partners are excited to kick this off. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today.
And I can't seem to pull up whatever the chart
The
that you
fact
were sharing. But basically, this is like an agreement to agree to come together and work on this planning agreement, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so it'll just be a year length. And essentially, we're going to try to figure out this funding strategy. We're going to figure out what the scope is and what our assigned roles will be. And then we'll come back to you all for your consideration to see if we want to embark upon the planning effort. So we are very optimistic that a year will be enough time and that you'll hear back from us pretty shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I move that we approve the MOA.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thanks so much, Juniper.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Yep. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Correspondence, discussion items. Oh, carbon monoxide detector
I
campaign.
don't see Dave Larkin on.
I wasn't able to get a hold of him this morning, but I can step in. Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Carrie Powers. I work in the communications division, but I've been working with Dave Larkin in the buildings division at Public Works. I believe he spoke to the commission earlier this month. He feels very strongly after hearing some local news stories of Montanans who have died due to carbon monoxide poisoning as it's gotten very cold and people turn to kind of atypical heating sources or even typical heating sources. So I've been working with him, Rita Hagler at Public Works, and then also Missoula Rural Fire District and Frenchtown Rural Fire District have all come together in the interest of creating this donation-based campaign to eventually distribute free detectors to Missoula County residents, with a specific focus on those that live outside of the urban core. And mostly we just wanted to put this on the agenda just kind of as a feel-good year-end wrap-up. So far, we've had just over $1,000 in donations. Public Works has also put forth some funds to purchase a handful of detectors, and that's really it so far. In 2023, we'll be circling up with the fire districts. There's also, I believe, Sealy Lake and a few other fire districts have said that they're very interested in helping to distribute this. There's also, I think, a community health initiative out in Frenchtown that does home visits, that sort of thing. So we are just hoping that maybe some last minute donations will come in at year end or maybe on into the new year. But so far we've got, I think we have funds for at least a couple hundred of these.
Oh, great. I was gonna ask how much. They're not very expensive.
About like $17 to $20 each.
So the donations just been coming in unsolicited? Have people heard about this or how?
Well, Public Works has a little.
It's been targeted solicitation rather. So Dave actually was the one who approached Northwest Energy. They're the ones that have given the bulk of the funds so far. The fire district folks have also been approaching local businesses who deal in propane specifically, as they have a vested interest in keeping customers safe. So it hasn't been as much of a public campaign, and then they've been coming in unsolicited. I've tried to keep it a little bit more targeted asks, obviously realizing, financial difficulties abound, and trying to focus on maybe some businesses who've had banner years as opposed to just asking the public to.
I wonder about the Missoula Organization of Realtors.
Oh, yeah,
They have a vested interest in having people safe
Absolutely.
in their home.
absolutely. That's a good point. I can add that to our list of the people that we've been talking to have asked. So yeah, kind of a noble effort by Dave for sure. He feels very strongly about this, that these are preventable deaths. I actually learned through working with him on this and kind of doing a little bit of research, according to the CDC, Montana has the 3rd highest mortality rate per capita of carbon monoxide deaths.
What are the
in
other two?
US. It's like Iowa, and I can't remember the other. And at scale, it might be only 10 or 15 people a year, but they're so completely avoidable by having these detectors that don't cost that much money.
Well, and is Montana one of the few states that doesn't have requirements for them?
I'm not so sure if that's
Okay.
true. I actually believe that I think that if you have a rental property, you're required to have them in a home. But and if you own your own home, I don't think anybody can tell you that you have to have even a smoke detector in there. I don't know. But we're hoping that kind of we get similar to like radon awareness, and then just general like how to be safe inside your home awareness that will continue. But it's very much, this is a trial campaign, but hopefully it makes a difference for some people.
Yeah, oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's it, unless anyone has anything else.
11 a.m. Sophie Moise tomorrow.
11 a.m. Sophie Moise.
I will be sworn in. Contrary to rumors.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the week
Happy New Year.
and Happy New Year. I'll see you in 2023. Thanks, Amy.